Hey guys, Tara here with a quick message before the show starts. Now for our Patreon subscribers, we have a really special incentive. We are doing our very first watch party. It's a Patreon exclusive on December 18th, 2023, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Did I say that right? 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We'll be watching an episode of Ultramantiga, followed by a short Q&A with writer Mike Pecorello. So yeah, all you have to do is go to Patreon, pay the $5 a month, and you get access to ad-free early episodes. Lots of cool content on there, like scripts and videos, and now a watch party. So just head to patreon.com/4kidsflashback. Thanks.
Welcome to
4Kids Flashback. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Tara.
So we're recording this. We are about to interview Suzanne Goldish. Steve, you have not met Susie yet.
No.
She's a very good friend of mine, so I will probably be giggling a lot during this episode.
So far, that's been a lot of the show, which I'm not against.
You just described me as your giggly co-host. Is that going to be what you call me when you describe me?
Maybe, yeah. I just say, or it's just the giggly the giggly co-host for the giggly show.
It's a gig. It is.
I
don't know.
I'm not pitching. I'm never gonna pitch the show as that.
No one's gonna listen to this if that's what you're saying.
It could already be misleading. It's called 4Kids Flashback. It's like it's about giggles, and they're like, yeah,
just about tickling and giggling.
How old are you again?
We're so dumb. So, is there? I sent you over some of Susie's credits. Was there anything that piqued your interest about her career?
I mean, what's great is it spans not just like anime, but a lot of just voiceover and video games in general. So there's just like a plethora of experience there and things to talk about, not just one thing. So
she's a multi-hyphenate. Yeah. She does all kinds of sound design, sound engineering. She jumps. She used to jump in the booth once in a while and record, but she does now. Her main job is engineering and voice directing simultaneously. Which is pretty cool. So yeah, we'll ask her a lot of those kinds of questions. We'll get into it. But when I knew her back then, I was very intimidated by her, and now she's really one of my closest friends. So it's kind of, I love that lesson of like, don't be intimidated by people just because they have cool tattoos and have a neat job. That was really why I think I was intimidated. And now that we're close, I realize she's just a big goober. So
I'd say most people are.
Most people are.
We're goobers about something.
Yes, everyone has their gooberness.
Yeah. If you're not a goober about something, I don't know. I don't think I could trust you.
I think that's fair. I don't trust people who don't have some nerdiness or some kind of little secret to them. And today we're going to find out what Susie's
I can't wait. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the journey was from intimidating figure to goober peer.
Alcohol. No, I'm just kidding. No, well, we'll probably get into it, but then I'll stop talking about it. And here's our interview with Susie. Suzanne Goldish started working at 4Kids in 2002 as an engineer, mixer, sound designer, and as an actor sometimes. Since then, she has gone on to work on so many of your favorite anime titles, where she is simultaneously engineering and directing shows like Sailor Moon, Naruto, Tiger and Bunny, Bungo Stray Dogs, Baki, and so many more. Basically, like 1 billion combined hours of television. We take a Spanish class together on Tuesday nights, so this interview will be done entirely in Espanol. Hola, Susie, bienvenido.
Hola, necesito agua para preparar.
We better stop now because we are both terrible at Spanish.
No, yo soy muy bueno.
Sí, tú es mejor que yo.
No.
Un poco.
We're alienating large swath of the country.
Yes. C. So Susie, you have met Steve Yurko.
Hey.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. Pleasure.
And we're gonna.
Steve this is a better me than the me that almost recorded a month ago. So
a little
we
behind
had
the
some
scenes.
technical difficulties.
yeah, Susie was having a bad day.
Are you having a great day today?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
no,
good.
I mean yes, it's fine.
It's fine. And Susie's puppy is there with her. Luna is in her booth.
Luna, you want to say hi? No, she doesn't.
No, she has no interest. Okay, Susie. So here's what's kind of fun about this for me is that Susie and I are friends in real life, but I don't know a lot of the answers to these questions. So
I might not either.
You might not either. Okay, so let's start here. Susie, when did you know that engineering and sound and audio in general was something you wanted to work in your life?
I had been a music person. I had been a pianist, and I wrote music in college, and thought that the only way to get a job in anything audio related was to be a musician or a composer. I didn't know there was anything else, really. And then through a colleague at school, I found out about a job at Sesame Workshop, working in their online, it was CD-ROM games at the time. And they needed someone who knew audio programs and who could do some sound design and a little bit of music and this and that. So I went to work there, and I was like, wow, this is a job in sound. This is crazy. And then after that, I ended up headed to 4Kids and learned more about recording, kind of learned on the fly.
Can you tell everybody, though, how you got that job at 4Kids? Because it is a good story.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. So my boss at Sesame Workshop, who was also my boyfriend for a short time. Anyways, he was good friends with a woman who worked at 4Kids in the music department. And at the time, neither one of us knew what Pokémon was. And he comes back one night and he says, I just went to see the craziest thing with Sue. Sue is the woman, the music woman. And I said, what? And he was like, it was this thing called Pokémon, and it was a musical, and it was at Radio City Music Hall, and it was insane. And I was like, what? And he said, well, there were these characters in costumes, and one of them like sings a song and puts people to sleep and then draws on their face with Sharpie. Like, I don't know what it was. And I said, that's crazy. And then from there, through Sue.
So you never saw Pokémon live?
No.
Oh, I thought.
No, I never saw it. No, he described it to me. And then through Sue, I found out that they needed engineers. And so I went in and interviewed. And then they were like, do you know Pro Tools? And I was like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I had to learn really quickly. And what was his name? Oh, the big engineer Israeli dude. Omar?
I know what you're talking. Armin? No.
No.
Oh,
not
gosh.
Alone. Alone was different.
I remember Alone.
Yeah, no. Oh,
we'll find him.
I
Okay.
believe I'm embarrassed. He really trained me. So
you didn't even know Pro Tools when you got. I had no idea.
I knew it a little bit, but we didn't use it in Sesame. I was using other programs, and so I had to really quickly.
Were you using
get
Logic?
good at it.
What were you using at Sesame?
So at Sesame, I'm old. I don't know if you knew that, but we were originally using something called Studio Vision.
Oh.
And that doesn't exist anymore. And then halfway through my time there, they were like, "Oh, we're going to switch to Logic. It's a new program." And they gave me the manual, and it was 6 inches thick. And I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "Learn this." And so I learned it enough to use it for what we did.
Okay.
And then I ended up going.
Do you remember your first day at 4Kids, what weird shows you saw, or were you prepared at all for the insanity?
No, I didn't know anything about anime. I didn't know what the what was it called?
Box.
Yeah.
Fox in a Box. What was it? What was it? It was Steve, right? Foxbox.
Yeah, it was originally Foxbox.
Steve, okay, yeah. Steve is here to answer all of our questions
right,
about
the things we didn't know about, yeah.
And I'll try to say it in the least nasally voice possible.
One of my first jobs was we were doing a dub of Ultraman Tiga, the live-action Ultraman. And my job was to fill in the gaps of sound effects, because they would give us sound effects from Japan, but there would be things missing. So I had to beef it up.
Okay, I do. So I do have some questions about all of this. I want to start with that you are listed as having a lot of different job titles. Like there's like sound editor, additional SFX, or whatever it is. Can you explain those different jobs and what all that is? Because I don't know, and I don't know that all of our listeners know.
Okay, I'll try. And obviously, some of this means different things in live action, in real TV.
Real TV, no, some unanimated.
Yeah, but so there are sound recordists, also known as ADR engineers, because for dubbing, it's technically ADR, which stands for Automated Dialogue Replacement, although people think it stands for Additional Dialogue Recording.
Oh, I thought it stood for Audio Dialogue Replacement.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, it's accepted anything, but originally, back in the day, you would have a tape and it would be automated to record the dialogue to replace dialogue that was in a film that had noise on it or something like that. But with dubbing, yes. So anything to picture now is considered ADR, technically. And so we had ADR engineers who would record the actors to picture. We had audio editors who would then take the audio that was recorded and make sure it was lined up properly with the flaps, the mouth movements. We call them flaps. And that things were, pacing out properly and stuff like that. And there were no noises. Audio editors take out all the clicks and pops and stuff like that. And then there are sound designers usually are designing from scratch. So an animated show that's done from scratch and doesn't have any sound design in it whatsoever is different than a live action show, because there's absolutely no sound that's been recorded of the ambience or anything like that. So all those sounds of like people punching each other and the birds in the sky and the walking on the ground, all that has to be designed. And some animations will do that all with sound effects from a library. And some animations will actually have Foley artists who will come in and record footsteps and things like that to picture so that it matches better. That's an old school gig. And then there's mixers who take the sound design, the dialogue that's been edited, and whatever the composers have done, the music, and mix it all so that the levels are proper, so that the music isn't blasting over someone's dialogue, and so the sound effects are proper level, and they kind of bring it all together.
Got it. So your first job there was filling in sound effects. So that was sort of a hybrid, a weird hybrid job, because
it was like a partial sound design. Like I was, they would have a track from Japan that came that had like people running, and then there's an explosion, but the explosion wasn't on the track for some reason.
So we don't know if it just didn't exist in Japan or if they were just getting...
I think they just sent it to us badly or something. No judgment. But it was nice. I got to like build explosions and stuff, and that was all from a library that I worked from.
Wow.
Was Ultraman the only show that was missing stuff, or were there other shows at 4Kids that were missing sound effects?
I don't know, because by the time I moved on from that to recording, and they never had me doing sound design again. As far as I can remember.
So then you actually... sorry, go on.
Well, then so once I started recording, I did have... This is sort of also sound design, but not really. So in Pokemon in particular, when we would get the audio from Japan, obviously we were recording all the dialogue again in English, but the Pokemon we re-recorded with English American actors, including yourself. But the only Pokemon that we did not re-record was Pikachu, because Pikachu cannot be replaced, right? I have a T-shirt
Really?
that says that. No.
I'm getting.
But,
well, now you know what you're getting for your birthday.
But Pikachu. So we would get a track of all of Pikachu's reacts throughout the show that lined up wherever Pikachu is. Now, and similarly to Ultraman Tiga, they would miss some Pikachu reacts. And so I had to go in to a bank of Pikachu reacts, which was like thousands of Pikachu reacts, none of which were labeled.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
And I had to find the proper react for the thing that was missing. So if it was like Pika's scared, I'd have to find the Pika, whatever. And so I'd be sitting in the room auditioning
Pikachu.
all these. Yeah, but I'd have to audition all the. I should have labeled them as I went, and I never did. So every time I had to do this job, I started from scratch, where I was like listening to all the sounds, and it would be like Pika, 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 Pikachu, Pika, and like someone would walk in while I was doing that, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry for you," and then they'd leave, but it would take me forever to find the right Pika to put in the spot.
That's insanity.
And then, as you well know, if any of the Pokemon that were done by American actors had 10 reacts or less in the show, we pulled it from a bank.
I know about this.
And did not bring in the actor.
So once, I mean, I'll explain that. And it's definitely a sore spot with a lot of the actors that we didn't know about till some of us didn't know years
because you
later.
didn't get paid. Right?
No,
for
so
those
they
episodes.
would, because we've said before we signed a crappy contract. So once we had recorded enough, like, once Bulbasaur had been in 15, 20 episodes, they had a bank of reactions.
But it was the same thing. I would have to go to the Bulbasaur bank, which I maybe named better.
The Bulbasaur
I'm not sure.
bank.
And listen to the Bulbas, Bulba,
Right.
Bulba, and get the right one for the
and the show, I'll just say, the show today would never do that. They always bring an actor in if their character has any kinds of reactions or verbalizations.
Right, yeah.
Were you working crazy hours doing this kind of work?
Sometimes I'd be there very, very late, but now I can't remember why. Because
I know why, because there was thousands of Pikachus.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I guess there were some nights I was there super late, but that doesn't make sense. I don't know what I was doing, because I didn't mix.
So the mixers were the ones that would stay late?
Not necessarily. There was a mix room, so they were mixing things that were done, and I don't.
All right.
Seriously,
you know
this
what?
is a long time ago. You're really stretching the Alzheimer's brain.
Okay, wait. Let's get back on track. So you moved from doing the sound effects for Ultraman Tiga, which I can't believe that was your first show.
Side note: what's crazy is that I recently directed you as well as others in Ultraman, what is it called?
Ultraman?
Now?
I don't know. Is there a subtitle?
No, it's like an animated series on Netflix.
Oh,
so it's
Netflix
come full circle. Yeah.
Yeah, we have come full circle. Look at us.
I've advanced so much.
Someone asked me I don't know. Someone sent me something from Ultraman, our version, 4Kids version on Twitter. So they said, "Hey, was this you?" And I went and listened to it.
Wait, were you on it?
Yeah, I mean, I had small parts on it, but
there are no small parts.
That's true. Thank you. No, so I went and listened to a soundbite of to confirm that it was me. And whatever I said was completely grammatically incorrect, and it totally got kept and put on television. And I was like, I can't believe how many people that went through. Like, I'm usually the grammar police. Like, I won't say something if it's. I mean, not on this podcast.
Well, we'll get to this, but like there was a time when I was doing a voice, and there's a scene where the character was like looking up in the sky, and I did an outtake of like "Hello, Jesus" or something like that, and the mixer was like, "I guess that's the line," and like mixed it into the show, and it was caught at the last minute. But I was like, "What?"
I mean, it happens even with artwork. Like Steve, there's like the smoking lollipops that got through in One Piece, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit here and there.
Because it was a cigarette and then it became a lollipop.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think sometimes some instances of blood were kept in, but
right.
I don't know.
It's ketchup.
Yeah, exactly.
Always is.
Wait, do you remember the purple dragon in Yu-Gi-Oh that was
with the
dragon
piece,
penis?
I should say. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a dragon penis?
It was a
Yes.
It was a giant dragon that had a head that breathed fire, but also had a penis with also a little head that breathed fire.
I need to see. I'm going to Google that right after this.
Yeah.
I love what you remember weird stuff. Okay, so then you get you leave that one job and you go into the booth. What was the first show you were with the ADR recordist for? No, you're shaking your head.
I don't think I remember. Okay. Maybe Pokemon? I don't remember.
That's okay. You don't have to remember. What were some of the shows you worked on during your time there?
So Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Winx Club. What's the Luffy one?
One Piece.
One Piece. Fighting Foodons. Funky Cops. I love that one.
Okay.
That was such a good show.
I just found out the greatest thing about Funky Cops. So you know how they took out, it was French, but you know how they took out guns from like every show they did at 4Kids?
Yeah.
Funky Cops, guns stayed in. Now, is that because they were legally police officers? Is that why? Because that's a great question. They were licensed.
Strange.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So that I'm going to ask Norman that when we interview him.
It was so good. It was so funny.
Tama and Friends?
So, yeah.
Did you ever work on Tama and Friends?
No.
I thought you did.
Mm-mm.
Okay, now
that was right before me, I think. Oh, and DDD, what's that one?
Kirby
and Kirby Your Enthusiasm. Somebody has to make that.
That we could sell that at conventions. A Kirby Your Enthusiasm t-shirt.
Yeah. It's like Kirby, but it's what's his face?
Yeah, in a big
Larry
pink
David.
bubble.
Yeah.
Ooh, I would buy that shirt.
Oh yeah.
Susie's.
What's? Oh my God. I mean, Sonic. I'm trying to think of the Andrew ones.
Oh, you were
Andrew and I worked a lot together. He directed.
She's talking about Andrew Rannells.
famous.
Yeah,
Tony nominated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Andrew Rannells was there. He was one of the directors. But it's so weird for me to think about you only engineering because I think of you so much as an engineer / voice director.
Yeah, I didn't start doing that till I came out here.
Was that at all of interest to you back then, or did that not cross your mind?
It didn't cross my mind, but I was learning so much about directing from the guys who were directing, and ladies and people.
Very few female directors, let's be honest. Yeah.
There were at that time very few. Yeah. Now there's a ton. But I learned from some great people. And I don't come from an acting background, so a lot of directors do, which is extremely helpful. But I watched Darren Dunstan direct, and Eric Stewart, and Chris Collet, and I mean, just watching them, and then once I moved out here, watching, the people I work with out here, the directors I work with out here, it just started making me realize what the right process is, how to tell an actor what to do, the words to use, the way to motivate them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I forget that you don't have an acting background because you communicate well with actors. And I guess that's because you spent so much time engineering. And normally I would tell a director, take an acting class, but you
I think I should take an acting class, but just you studying other directors is almost as good. But I do think that taking an acting class would be good. Jamie was my boss, was just telling me that he took an acting class before he started directing, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, so Susie now, and we'll get into this in a minute, but Susie now works at a recording studio called Studiopolis. She's sitting in right now.
LA.
Yes. So Susie, okay, so I'll try not to keep you here forever, but so Susie and I worked together in New York, and then we reconnected.
Oh, I need to tell that story.
Tell that story.
Myself. So basically, I was in New York. Work was slowing down. And
is that around the time that 4Kids, there were some things going on there that?
Yeah. And just I wanted to get into live action, and it wasn't happening. There wasn't enough going on out there. And so I was for various reasons, I kind of wanted to get out of New York. I'd been there for 10 years, and I was like, well, if I want to keep doing this kind of work, LA is kind of the place to go. So I visited, had some friends out here, and then I decided to move. And then literally one of the first months I was out here, I went to a little gathering of people that I went to college with. And lo and behold, you were there.
I was
right?
just happy. I was with our friend Amanda.
Yeah, who went to college with me, who I didn't even know.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God. And then we, talked about working and voice acting and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I need a job. And you basically got me my job.
I didn't get you your job.
You got me the job. She always says this.
I emailed some people. Sam Riegel was one of them.
You and Sam Riegel both got me my jobs. So first I started at Cup of Tea, which is another studio out here, via Sam Riegel, I believe. And then you and Sam both gave me the name, Jamie's name at Studiopolis. And I contacted them, and I've been here for
many years. Yeah, we've been out. Yeah,
they've been sitting in this room.
I told Steve I was super intimidated by you in New York, that we were not friends in New York. Like, I thought you were too cool for school.
I was a disaster.
Again,
I did not.
It's an audio podcast. I just want to note that a lot of eyebrows just raised right there in response to that.
But yeah, I was like so thankful that I ran into you out here and that you knew the industry in the world. I mean, I will admit that when I first moved out here, I was like, I'm going to be in the union and I'm going to work in film and I'm going to, be on the big movies. And so I went to every lot and met like a bunch of post supervisors, and they were all like, it was 2008, so there was a strike when I got here, and they were like, we don't really need anybody to add to our team. And that happened everywhere. And I even went through the orientation for the union and everything, but then nothing was happening. And then I was like, okay, I need some work. And literally 9 months of doing that, I was like, I need to find some work. So I was like, I'm going to go back into animation, which at the time I was like, I was hoping to get into the bigger, crazier stuff. But then this is a whole long story.
But
like
so
at this point in my life, I'm like very happy that I love animation. I love the world of animation. I love how small a family it is, especially in LA, because you're in this giant pool, ocean of Hollywood and industry. But the animation world, even with the big name animations, are still this smaller little subset. Yeah. And you just have it's more cozy.
Yeah, Steve's actually a storyboard artist, so you understand that kind of world of, yeah.
Yeah. It impresses everyone outside of the city. So, but yeah, I'm still just a very small part.
But I do feel very well versed in how animation is produced and works, and the workflow, and who's involved, and the storyboard artists. And not that I even interact with them, but I know the process. I know I know how voice actors work, and I know how dialogue fits into the picture. And
okay, I want to go back to 4Kids, and I want to talk about when you actually jumped into the booth and became an actor at 4Kids. And let's talk about some of your acting roles. A big eye roll from Susie and a shoulder shrug.
Well, okay, so there's Pokemon. I played various Pokemon.
You're saying it wrong. You realize you're...
Pokemon.
Okay, that was better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We went to see the Pikachu movie and criticized every time they said the word Pokemon.
The newer one, because they said it all
the live action one.
The live action, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we have to talk about the documentary that you and I watched recently.
Oh, my God.
Yes. We'll get into that.
We'll get to that.
I watched it, too.
You watched... Oh,
good.
We'll have things to talk about. Okay.
Oh, my God. We're talking about The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, right?
No. But that is a show that Susie and I hold very near and dear. Okay. So you jump in the booth. Yeah. How does this happen?
Well, the Pokemon thing was that we'd be watching a show and there'd all of a sudden be a Pokemon that was not in the script or something. And it had 3 reacts and we were like, uh-oh. And Darren would go get in the booth.
Do it, Susie.
I mean, Darren got in the booth for 1,000 of them.
Right.
The ones he's famous for, there's obviously those, but there are all these little ones that we just didn't have an actor coming in, so we were like, eh. So I don't know. I think I played 25 different Pokemon, but I honestly don't remember any of their names. I think one of them was a sparrow, so it was like Sparbo.
Spiro. I think it's Spiro, isn't it?
No, that's a different. No, not that one.
Sparbaloni. I think it's Sparbaloni. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
That's definitely it. So, were there any? So this leads me to another question. Were there any notes taken about who did what, or those don't exist? It's not like they're lost.
Some of the fans know.
Right, but sometimes
sometimes they wouldn't know. There's no way to know.
The background. But it wasn't even labeled on a file with who did the voice. It wasn't even labeled that way.
I don't know.
You were labeled,
but I've looked at some of those like Pokemon tomes that like have all the Pokemon in them, and like my friend's 11-year-old has or whatever. Right. And I've looked through it to be like, I think I played that.
Well, yeah. Darren just yelled at me and told me I played Mudkip, and I was like, I never played Mudkip.
What?
I go. Maybe I filled in. He goes, Tara, you were Mudkip, and he sent me a video. He goes, that's you. I go, oh yeah, that's me.
How did he get it?
Because he sent me
from YouTube or whatever.
And he was like, Tara, I know I directed you in this.
Well, my favorite Pokemon that Darren played that is very overlooked.
I do, but you say it.
Is Feebas. Feebas. He's a fish. And Darren's voice for Feebas was, Feebas.
And when we all go to dinner, when Darren visits, they talk about
I'm
Feebas.
Always like, Feebas. Did you go to the con and talk about Feebas? Yeah.
Okay, wait. Let's go. You did more than Pokemon voices.
Okay.
Though, so
I mean, I have to look at my IMDb. I can't.
I have the page open. Don't worry.
Oh God, there's some like Pokemon extra. Like in one of the Pokemon movies, I was like Hamburger Girl or something.
Okay, but now were you? Okay, but I want to like get into like let's.
Okay, there's one character that I had, like deep. A real character.
Okay, what was
the one? It was. This is a sore subject. So
good.
We did a.
Are
Sonic
you ready to cry?
Show. We did a Sonic show. What was it called? Sonic X.
Sonic X.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I played Christopher Thorndike as a boy. And similar to learning how to direct from directors, I learned how to act from the voice actors who I was watching, specifically Veronica Taylor. I had recorded her a lot, and I was learning a lot about performance from them. Anyways, I don't know who cast me in this. Maybe I forced them to cast me. I don't even know.
I can't imagine
They made better money than I did.
I think probably one of the directors was like, Susie, try it. Don't you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I think Andrew directed it. I don't remember.
From what I could collect, I think that might have been an Andrew show. I could be wrong, but from what we've talked about with
we've
other people,
unwrapped during this deep dive.
But so here's the deal. It was bad. Like the show itself was bad, but my character was hated with a passion. And Mike...
People don't hate Sonic X the way they hate other shows. That's so... Right?
Okay, but Mike...
Is that wrong? Am I right or wrong?
Why am I blanking? Mike?
Knobloch.
Hagney?
No.
Not Knobloch?
Eggman.
Oh, Mike Pollock.
Oh, Pollock.
Yes. Mike Pollock, who has played Eggman in every iteration of Sonic ever. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. Since
except
Sonic
for the
X.
movie.
Except for like
was in Sonic X. He was also in Sonic X.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's where he started, and
he really? Sonic X was his first thing?
Yes. And he's the one that
consistent.
When they changed the cast again.
No, we record him here when we do our Sonic games.
He's the one voice actor they kept. So
he's the Pikachu.
Yeah. He is the Pikachu.
Pretty much.
Anyways,
he needs
Mike
that shirt.
had his finger on the pulse of the fans of Sonic, and he would always just let me know how much they hated me.
That's horrible.
Why would he do that?
He was like,
we'll interview him about that.
Yeah, they really don't like you. And I'm like, cool.
Was it a main character? I don't even know.
Yes. He was a main character, but I was not good. Like I'm not a good voice actor at all.
Now I'm gonna go watch
I listened back to it, and it is really bad. And it's very pushed. I would be like, we can't bring her back. And like, like that's how I would say now. But I will say, like, from then I also did a bunch of like educational, like non 4Kids related. I did some educational VO and
I'm looking at Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and apparently you played Jasmine and Ms. Dorothy.
I did. But I think that means Jasmine was like 2 lines. Like, she had a name.
It has 31 episodes, but IMDb gets things wrong. You were also you were also the receptionist in Pokemon and a coordinator.
Potentially.
Yeah, like I'm looking.
You're talking like 1-line things. Yeah.
But okay, so talk about the difference between like the way we worked at 4Kids and how unorganized and we didn't know who played what character, and the way you work today. Like, worlds different, right? You keep track of who played what.
Right. Somebody does. I don't.
No, of course. Yeah. That's not
just
your
want to note, audio podcast, Susie was wincing at that.
I'm not sure it's that different.
Oh, I totally disagree.
No, they definitely are much better at tracking who did things. Although, from time to time, I'm sitting with my boss and we're listening to something and we're like, who is that? And there's no note of who it was. It's like Soldier B or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And like, for some reason, they've come back in a game or something, or like this happened recently, and we had to like listen to it over and over and over and be like, who is that?
Did you figure it out? You don't have to tell us who, but did you figure it out?
With some help from Ryan.
Okay.
We had to bring in other people.
I did. I got sent something the other day, like from a different, not your studio, a different studio, and they said, "Is this you? This character's back." And so
What's so funny is that like I'm actually like I should be really good at this, but I'm really bad at telling who is voicing something.
I'm the same way. Steve,
like
you're good at it, right? Steve, you probably you have a good ear.
It's my useless superpower.
But no, but like if it's like an ad for like Chevy, you know, my friends will be like, "Oh, that was meow meow meow." So Tim Allen, now whatever, and I'm like, or like in you know big Pixar movies, I'm like, "Who is that?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Of course, that's so and so. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm really bad at that.
I prefer watching some of that stuff at home where I can
and not knowing.
No, where I can look at IMDb because if I'm seeing something in a theater and I can't place the voice, like it makes me crazy.
It drives you crazy.
Yep.
But at the same time, I prefer shows that have people that I don't recognize because it does take me out, right?
Oh yeah,
like,
but I mean if it's like a friend of mine too, even like I'm like, wait, sounds like so.
Right.
All right, so we talk more. So the documentary that we are talking about that Steve, Susie, and I have all watched now was a documentary that someone made about the making of the Pokémon musical, which is how Susie got her start working at 4Kids, basically.
Well, I mean, don't make it sound like that.
Well,
I had
she
nothing
was not
to do
in
with
the
the
show.
musical.
Darren and Andrew were, but you know we'll save that for their interviews. But how would you describe this documentary without being? Let's not be mean, but like
it felt like a Christopher Guest movie.
It did a little bit,
because the musical, like apart from what you think quality wise of the musical, they were given what didn't they say it was like 2 weeks to rehearse?
Well, no,
and the writer had 2 weeks to write the script or something.
It was a very condensed timeline, and I should watch it again and take better notes.
Yeah, but it is also like. My mouth was open the whole time because I forgot that it had been at Radio City Music Hall. I was like, what? Like, and that. I mean, that's insane.
Well, it toured North America and Canada, and apparently did well.
Well, that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
but being in New York at Radio City Music Hall,
I know. I mean, that's what's funny to me is like, yes, this show toured and did well, but like. Putting it in Radio City with a bunch of theater snobs that I was sitting with in the audience is a very different...
Wait, you went to it?
Yeah, so that was one of the few perks of working at 4Kids.
Oh, you were already working there.
I was working there, and they invited some of the cast to see this musical, and I think it was my birthday. I think I saw it on.
Oh wow!
So I actually sat in the audience with the cast of Pokemon watching this show, which was.
Wait, was Rachel Lillis with you?
I don't remember exactly who was there. I would assume she was there.
Because I think the Jigglypuff thing was really...
I think it was her voice.
Momentous. Oh.
Was it?
What?
Didn't they keep...
maybe
there
for
might
the
have
singing?
been voices that they kept in. So
yeah.
that probably... Yeah, I don't know. And probably did
my
not
God.
pay
But
for
yeah,
it.
the documentary, I really didn't know what it... Because there is no footage of it. Like, in the documentary there is. There's very shaky footage from somebody in the audience, I think.
Very repetitive footage of the same thing.
Yes, because they didn't film it. There was no recording of it. And I was like,
or that he was allowed to use. I mean, the truth is maybe there is some media somewhere.
I don't think he was allowed to use what he had.
Probably not.
Yeah. But like, That's Luna.
Oh, that's the puppy. I was like, I couldn't tell where that was coming from. Okay.
She's like, she makes little cow sounds periodically.
Oh.
You're a good girl. You're so pretty.
So we watched. So Susie and I had some beverages and watched this documentary. Steve, what did you think of this documentary? Put you on the spot.
Amateur?
No. I mean, we're talking about the documentary,
it's on YouTube.
not the
it's
show
a
itself.
fan made documentary.
But it's pretty informative. Like, I didn't know half that stuff.
No, it was great that he actually was able to talk to the writer of the show because that was very insightful.
That's the other really kind of sad thing is that he talked to two people who were in the show and neither one of them were main characters and they were like background. One of them seemed a little overeager. I don't know.
Clearly, like,
and the other one seemed like they couldn't care less, or just like.
I wonder how many people.
Can I eat a granola bar?
You can totally eat a granola bar while we talk. This is a very casual podcast.
All right.
So okay. So we got the
Perfect.
You should use that for your Foley, Susie.
ASMR.
All right, I want to let you out of here soon. So let me jump ahead to some other stuff. I do have like just like technical questions that I thought of as someone who voice directs it. Like when you were working on some of these shows, either as just an engineer or as an engineer voice director, are you ever frustrated in the order people record because there's like punchlines and setups and punchlines and
because it's one person at a time, you mean?
So I should explain that. We record one at a time, and as a voice director, I think I would get frustrated the humor is lost.
I think as an actor, I would get frustrated if someone's not explaining to me what I'm responding to, you know?
But if it's not there yet, how can you even, as a director, explain
I can tell them what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there are some directors that don't do that.
Oh, for sure. But what if, like, someone comes in, and you know, like, I love when I get a scene with Ben Diskin, and then I've done the punchline, but he reads the setup in such a funny way that you're like, that's a better interpretation, or...
I don't know. It usually works because I'm really funny. So when I read the line that Ben Diskin's going to read, it works.
Okay, so that's not like a major issue for you. What about things like rewrites? Like if you rewrite...
that's a major issue.
Okay, so like are you discouraged from doing rewrites because it's hard to bring an actor back if it affects their line or things?
Well, the problem with the rewrites is when it's more than one director on a show. Because sometimes the other director doesn't realize that the previous line has changed. If it's just me working on a show and I'm doing all the sessions, I'll make a note and it'll be like, oh, I changed this person's line, so when this person comes in, I got to make sure that they read the line this way.
But what if that person has finished the job? Like, is it discouraged to like bring them back for one?
Then
line?
I make it work.
You make it
work. Then I make it work. Like, if that person has finished the job, then whoever isn't done, I do something to make it work with whatever was recorded.
Okay.
You know.
So there were never any like Walla sessions at 4Kids with multiple actors in the booth. It was always one at a time.
I don't even remember doing Walla at 4Kids.
No, I don't think they ever did. Yeah, I and you don't do that at Studiopolis either, do you?
Well, we have started every now and then. It depends on the show. And what we've found is if we have the time, when we're done with all the main characters, we will bring usually two actors in who can do multiple voices and do Walla passes. So, and also our mixer specifically likes it when people who are doing Walla are, a little more off mic and, it's a little more roomy sounding. So I'll have them stand at one mic a little further away. And especially with like something like Baki, where there's like tons of audience like screaming and oohs and ahs and gasps and this and that. They gave us time, or my boss gave us time, where I brought in two actors and they basically did all those cues. So like I would do a pass with them together going, yeah, woo, yeah. Then they pick a different pitch of their voice or something like that. They do another pass, the two of them. And that way, A, the Walla doesn't sound like it's right on the mic, and B, we get it all done. I mean, because oftentimes most walla is done by a person who's come in to do a character in the first place. And if the person takes too long doing their regular character, then you don't get them for long enough to do all the walla.
Right.
And then walla gets thrown by the wayside, you know.
Walla by the wayside. So that, and again, I promise I'll wrap this up. So that I was thinking about how 4Kids had this luxury of having animators there that, like, if they were like, you know what, we need an extra lip flap, and they could do rewrites. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God.
Rotoscope out the purple penis.
Right. Can you imagine if you asked your boss, hey, can you just reanimate this so that I can make this line work? Like, that doesn't happen today.
Well, actually, we have a video editor on staff who every now and then would have to, like, we'd get some anime and there'd be a gun or something that, you know, we have to get rid of.
Wait, now
he does
now?
that.
That happens. Oh, I had no idea that you guys did
I don't know how much he does it now, but I'm early, like years ago, I remember him because when we were all in the studio together and he had an office and he would often be tasked with, you know, putting laser beams as opposed to bullets or whatever.
One of the questions I had is, you've seen, obviously, over the years, how popular anime has become. Now, when we all worked together back then, none of us knew anything about anime. Today, you get actors you work with, who know way too much about anime. Is there a middle ground that's the best scenario? Like, how do you feel about working with people who know way more than the director does about this show? Finish chewing. She's such a bitch.
All right. So it's good and bad. Like, so the bad is if actors come in who know a ton about anime and assume that they know the best way to perform the lines. And because for a long time, a lot of anime acting was very over the top and, you know, female characters were really girly and really, you know, that whole thing. And there are a lot of people who, you know, granted they're like, you know, been watching anime forever and they know it well, but they come in and they're like, oh, I know how this should be read. And they read it silly or too over the top or too girly or too loud, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that Studiopolis in particular prides themselves on having our anime be a little... Luna is getting into her bed.
Oh, doggy.
Luna,
she's ready to go.
Thank you. Prides themselves on having our anime not be as anime-y. You know, a little more grounded. You know, a character that you look at and you're like, oh, well, that's going to be the bubbly idiot girl. We don't really go there 100%. You know, like we make it make sense to what the Japanese have done, but we don't give it that like stereotypical sound. You know. Right. And I think there are some fans who come in who have become voice actors and they're just like, they're too broad, you know, and they can't be directed out of that sometimes. It's just like in their head, it's what they assume it should be, and you can't get them out of it. Now, there are instances where an actor will know a lot more about a show, usually because they know the manga. They've read the manga and they have a huge knowledge of it. And I'm like, great, tell me what the hell is going on. I mean, obviously, I do all the research I can before I start a show. But, for instance, Ben Diskin, he's
loves a Digimon manga. Encyclopedia.
He's an everything encyclopedia. I just did a show with him, and he had already read the manga. And, like, maybe he got the gig and read the manga. I think that's probably what he did. But he likes manga. And so he came in, and he wasn't like... You know, he clearly knew the direction things were going, but he wasn't like a presumptuous and was like, well, this character should sound like this. He doesn't do that. Right. You know, he helped inform me about like what was going to happen and like, you know, this character transitions, because sometimes I don't even have the next episode. So I don't even know.
That was my next question. Happen. Yeah. How many episodes are you working on one at a time, or sometimes are they giving you?
Well, more recently than not, it's changed because the deals have changed where whatever, we won't get into it, but in terms of like recording and hours that the actor can work and stuff like that. So we very much try to have more than a few scripts at a time. because some characters are only going to have like 20 lines in an episode, and you're going to bring them in and they have a minimum of however many hours.
Right.
Like, you really want to try to make use of all that time. So, for instance, a show that I worked on recently for Netflix, we had like 3 episodes to start, and then like more would come in, and it paced out well, right? Obviously, if you have 1,000 lines in an episode, it doesn't even matter.
Right.
But and every now and then you get to work on a show where they've finished all the scripts and then you can start. That's pretty rare, though.
Luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also, we have this crazy luxury now. Like, Susie directed the first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen this season. And we were trying to figure out a timeline thing while we were working. And I was like, wait, there's a Jujutsu Kaisen wiki I can look up. Now,
right. Oh, my God. Yeah. I can't even tell you how many times I go to Narutopedia or like any of that stuff. Like, just to know, because like, we work on Naruto and Boruto and the video games associated with it. And we're doing video games that are going back in time to like the beginning of Naruto. And I'm like, oh my God, who is this character? What did they do? And these wikis know who played those characters.
It's amazing.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, the fans help me. I mean, that's the only place I get the information for the most part. Like, I can, if it's something that was put out in Japan years ago, yes, there's more information about it. But these days, there's a lot of stuff being simul-dubbed so that it comes out in Japan and then it's on the air in English 3 days later.
It's crazy.
So you have no advanced knowledge of what's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel so lucky for that. And I always wonder what our work at 4Kids would have been like, the difference if we had access to all that stuff. If we had known about anime, if we had known about the manga. No one ever said to me, hey, you should read the manga back then. Like, it didn't even...
Was Pokemon a manga?
No, but but there were other. Was it? Steve?
Was Yu-Gi-Oh?
Wait. Here we have someone here who can answer that.
Pokemon has had manga, but it's it's spin-offs. It's all the
came
video
after.
games, of course. Yeah, and the anime came first. Yu-Gi-Oh, manga first.
Right.
Yeah, we could have.
And I don't even know if the directors knew about the manga. Like, I don't know. In my mind,
I'm keeping that burp in, by the way.
Thank you. You play this fine line of like wanting to stay true to the Japanese and true to the manga, and also making it appropriate for an American audience so that it's not, I give so many props to the writers who adapt these, because trying to find words that fit the existing mouths that keep the authenticity of the Japanese, but then also make it make sense to an American audience. There's like 10 different things in there trying to make that work. And granted, you could come across a lot of scripts that don't work, but it's a huge task.
I mean, I love when I work with someone like you and you say, oh, I know that this writer always is a flapper too short, or this writer always writes a couple syllables too long, and you just start learning their styles.
Yeah, but it's also, a good writer, not only can they do those things I was just saying, but they also can like understand how a normal actor would pace something. Mm-hmm. And the pacing depends on the character. Like, if you have a plodding, sinister guy who is a Keith Silverstein or something, and you have a certain line, you're not going to like fill it with tons of words, because then they'll have to talk quickly and it won't work,
Right. Susie, you are a national treasure.
Uh-huh. I'm Nicolas Cage.
Steve, do you have any parting questions or comments? You could just be a comment about Susie before we let her get the hell out of here.
Thank you for your tireless work. I apologize on behalf of Sonic fans for Crystal and Guy Kate.
I will say Xander Mobus, who is a voice actor who I work with currently, he was a tyke and watching Sonic act. He's probably your age, Steve. And he was like, he could not believe that I played that character. And I'm like, everyone hated it. And he was like, yeah. I think he agreed.
No reassurance, just
I know.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Veronica, when we interviewed her, talked about how they didn't like her character's accent in one of the One Piece shows. One of the in the One Piece show.
4Kids and controversy?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of if you didn't have a hated character at 4Kids, you weren't doing your job right.
Right. Yeah. If you talk to Eric, you need to ask him about one of the Pokemon he played that was an alligator or something. And he decided, because he thought it was just going to be a one-off, to do the voice like this, inhaling. And then it kept coming back, and that is the hardest thing to do, and it really hurt him.
That looked like it hurt you.
Yeah, it did.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. But look how far we've come, Susie.
I know. Oh, my God. We are Andrew Rannells.
Suzanne Rebecca Goldish. That's not your middle name. What is your middle name?
I don't have a middle name.
Oh, I got to talk to your parents about that, because I'm going to give you
one.
I
did.
Oh, you just won't admit it?
No. I don't have a middle name. And I was very upset growing up because my brother got my mom's maiden name as his middle name. And so I was mad. And so I was like, well, then I'll take Dad's middle name, which is Harvey.
Okay. That's terrible. Suzanne Harvey Goldish. That is the worst name I've ever heard.
No, but I don't have a middle name.
You just gave me so much ammunition. All right, go home, eat your dinner, walk your dog. I will see you en la clase de español mañana.
Sí. Gracias, Steve y Tara.
De nada.
Good night, goodbye, good luck. Thank you, Susie Goldish.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Mwah. So, Steve, that was my friend Susie Goldish. Any thoughts? Or are you just not surprised that we're friends?
No, not at all. No pressure or anything.
She's listening.
Why am I talking out loud? My thoughts.
No.
Not like I'm being pressured to say something nice right now. No. The connection between you two, the friendship there, is always what makes an interesting interview for this show, and this did not disappoint.
I feel like I learned stuff. Like I loved actually hearing the differences between the different sound jobs, because that was something I did not know about.
I didn't even know, and I guess it's not really common, but talking about Ultraman Tiga and having to pretty much remake the sound design of that show.
That was fascinating to me.
That's too much.
And
yeah.
We'll never really know what happened if they were just left out completely, or if those are answers we're never going to get, but that was pretty interesting.
For sure.
I'm so curious if that ever happens today, but I'm assuming it doesn't as much.
I gotta say, I'm very surprised by the Chris Thorndike being a sore spot.
Well, now now that she's gone, were you someone who hated that character?
Hated his guts.
Now, was it the character or was it the voice?
The voice, I don't remember the voice ever bothering me. I think it was very, that show, not to get too much off tangent, but just he's very Spike from Transformers, where he's the human that always has to be there, though he contributes very little.
It's not as much, it's a combination of the writing and we can't fully blame Susie for this.
Yeah, I would say the problem with Sonic X is it's a Sonic the Hedgehog show, and half of the focus is on Chris Thorndike and his family, and also his wealthy family and all of the people that serve that family. And I could just remember, I just want to see Sonic do things.
Oh, yeah, I see. This was okay. Now, going into this interview, you knew she played this character, right? Were you so glad that she brought up that it was hated, so that you didn't have to have this secret?
Yeah, definitely. Really, I think just the fact that she was so straightforward about it, it definitely made it easier. But also then I just felt really bad. I'm like, oh
no, she can handle it.
Why did Mike Pollock have to tell her?
I know. Yeah, well, we're gonna have to talk to Mike about that. That's actually something we will talk about. But you know what the truth is Mike and I think, and so many of us, were doing so many different characters that if someone hated one of them, it wasn't a big deal. I was so used to they hate so-and-so, but I have this other character. Luckily, they like that. Susie wasn't doing 80 characters, so that probably hurt more than he realized at the time.
But it was interesting to me because like that is Chris is still, that was a lead role, but Susie just specializes in sound and engineering, directing, all that stuff. So I never knew that until like I finally looked into her, and I'm like,
you thought this was just a random actor. You thought that name.
Okay. At the time, yes, and then when I actually looked up, and I'm like, oh, they're way more on the audio engineer side. So I think for me, I was just curious. I'm like, what led to playing a lead character in a show?
Yeah, and I think it was really just that we were. I'm sure it happened the way she vaguely remembers, where one of our friends was like, "This will be funny, Susie, audition for this."
Yeah, it's half the time it's just like, I don't know, once you get in there, it's like, that sounds good. Yeah. Let's just go with that. Let's go with you.
And I mean, and obviously, listen, it does sound to me now, I haven't seen the show. I probably should watch it. That it was a lot of the character itself and not her fault that she didn't do anything vocally that made this character more despicable. But it is a shame that her one big character happens to be that.
Disliked, yeah. But.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. As always, you can check out our Patreon.
Patreon.com/4Kids Flashback.
That's the one.
The number 4.
The number 4, yeah. And or go to 4Kids Flashback. You can find links to all the different stuff where you can listen, merch with the logo Steve created, and all that fun stuff. And yeah, come back next week because we'll interview someone else. I can't promise that we will giggle as much, but maybe that's a good thing.
But there will be chatter nonetheless. So
come back for the chatter. Stay for the 4Kids.
Informative, giggly. I don't know. Who's to say? I like a little bit of both. It's a
combo platter. So. Until next week.
All right, we'll catch you then. I'm gonna just start saying that now. I think that's just. I realize that if you asked me 5 minutes, I wouldn't remember that's the thing. But then as we're wrapping up, I'm like, okay, I think I'm just gonna start saying this from now on.
4Kids Flashback is a production of Maji Media, hosted by Tara Sands and Steve Yurko.
Producers are Zach Logan, Tara Sands, and Steve Yurko.
For more information, go to 4kidsflashback.com. That is the number 4. And if you worked at 4Kids and have a story you want to share, please email us at 4kidsflashback@gmail.com.
You can find us on social media at 4Kids Flashback, and to listen early and ad-free, head to patreon.com/4kidsflashback. For podcast merchandise, find links on our website and Linktree.
As they say on every podcast, if you liked this show, please subscribe, rate, and review, and tell your friends, or 4. If you want to check out other Maji Media podcasts, go to maji.media. Thanks for listening.